Joining us now is Texas State Senator Roland Gutierrez. He represents the district where the shooting took place here. He was with us last night during our coverage here on CNBC. It's just, you know, your heart just bleeds. You know, walking this neighborhood, it's a modest neighborhood with modest folks, many of whom know everybody who go to that school. It just breaks your heart.
No, that's right, Shep. I mean, this is a working class town. I mean, a real blue collar town. You know, we're in rural Texas, but Uvalde's a little bit different. It's not quite a small town, not quite a big town. Very picturesque and a very tightly knit community where everybody knows each other. And there's not a person in Uvalde who doesn't know someone that was affected last night.
I wonder, in your leadership role, what do you do besides give them a hug and try to give them hope? I mean,
well, I'm here to make sure that the state agencies give adequate resources. We need mental health care. Rural Texas and Uvalde as well lacks in psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors. We're going to have a flooding effect over the next few weeks to make sure that these little kids that witnessed all of these things get the care that they need, their families, of course, friends. This is a community that is in great pain right now. We've got to do everything we can.
The politics, I mean, we could have predicted it because we've seen it, one of these after another. Politics blowing up, politicians coming to, this one talking mental health, this one talking arming all the teachers, this one talking take away the guy. I mean, it's just a sick pattern.
It's just more of the same. You know, the governor talked about us earlier about mental health and evil. We hear that often from him. Look, at the end of the day, if this young man didn't have the access to this kind of weaponry, we might have been able to avoid this. If buying 2 guns in the span of 3 days and 375 rounds isn't enough of a red flag, then I don't know what is. Mind you, I filed a red flag bill in 2019. It went nowhere with this Republican-controlled Congress.
Under that bill, had someone bought 2 guns and that much ammunition, AR-15 style guns, would a red flag have gone up? And what would it have meant?
It would have allowed law enforcement to be able to make those calls. And, you know, in conjunction with dealers of these types of ammunition, these types of weapons. I'm not suggesting that anybody was irresponsible here, but at the end of the day, when you have an 18-year-old that buys a gun one day, comes back to the same store 2 days later, buys another similar machine gun with 375 rounds, somebody should have called the authorities. Somebody should have called the authorities here, Shep. And that didn't happen. It just didn't. And we didn't have legislation in place to make that happen. That's the sad part.
We talked a lot last night about teaching children in our school systems, which are strapped for money, not just in Uvalde, but in districts all over this country, teaching children about how to love each other and having children and teachers start figuring out where the problems are, and then a system for how to deal with them. That doesn't really exist in most school districts.
Well, it doesn't.
And it would be expensive.
It's expensive. Rural Texas is strapped for cash. You know, in 2019, the Republican solution to all of this was harden schools. We had 17 bills that were about school hardening. Well, this guy walked right into the back door of this school. Not a whole lot of good that went into hardening this school at that time. We also teach our kids to see something, say something. Someone saw something and they should have said something, and I mean that in this gun shop. They should have said something, and we should have laws to avoid this.
As a side item, but just because, you know, it's graduation time coming up, how are these kids going to deal with all that, those important rites of passage?
You know, this is just a grave shock to this entire community. I've been a little bit just shocked and speechless a lot of this time. This morning I left San Antonio again. I hugged my daughters, didn't want to let them go. I can't imagine how these 19 families are dealing with this. I can't imagine. And I can't imagine how we're going to get through the graduations and the things that need to happen. These kids were, like every other little kid, excited to have a great summer. Not anymore.
Yeah. 10-year-olds. Senator, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.